Hello there. How are you guys doing today? That back there was a prime lesson in paying attention to the weather, boys and girls. I didn't expect it to get down to 7 degrees last night. It was almost 40 at one point yesterday. So we get to get a truck ungelled this morning. We're gonna throw a couple fuel filters on it and throw some crap in the tanks. See if we can get it going that way before we break the tarps out and the heater out. Lessons learned, lessons learned. Should have watched the weather, then I would have been down there and let it run all night last night. Alright, Jax. Alright, Opie. Yes, I know. Daddy screwed up. That didn't work. Now we're on to round 2. Alrighty, during this part I'm going to go ahead and need some of you to close your eyes, because some of you won't approve of this next part, but, well, I'm going to do it. Like I said, a lot of you might not approve of the good stuff in a can, and it's not really even the good stuff. Back in the day, this stuff, whew, you'd give her just one little shot, she'd fire up. Just that right there, I'd do half a can. So, but she's running, and that's the important part right now. Let's get on the road, and we'll talk a little bit more about what I did wrong there, and why that was a big oops. But then I'll tell you a little bit more about the fuel gelling and, well, what I did to fix the issue. We'll be back right with... We'll be right back with you. Alrighty, let's talk about what I did wrong first. What I did wrong is, it's December, guys. I should know better, but I'm trying. You know, we made it halfway through December before we really got temperatures really strong like this. So I really wasn't watching the forecast. So I didn't know it was going to get down to 7 degrees. That was the first thing I did wrong. You know, then the next thing I did wrong was I didn't really think about where I fueled up. I fueled up down in Oklahoma. Well, there, we got unloaded. Well, unloaded, we got unhooked. Got a little bit distracted. Clarence, hello. He works here, and he stopped to say hello. But, okay, what else did I do wrong? What else I did wrong was, well, guys, I didn't watch the forecast. We covered that. You know, I had cold diesel, or cold, warm weather fuel in there. And not a lot of places I go to get fuel even offer the blended fuel, number 1 with number 2. They might put some additive in there, but that's still not good enough. You need to run blended, or you need to put your own additive in there, which one more thing I didn't do. I didn't put additive in there, and the truck sat for a day. Horrible. I tell you what, usually what I do in that circumstance, I would go down to my truck the night before, when it's still warm. You know, you don't have that overnight cold and that morning cold. It's still warm enough. And I'd start the truck up and I'd leave it running all night. Yeah, that's 10 hours of running, but let's do the math there. These Caterpillars, you know, they burn up, well, it matters what you got them set for an idle, but let's just average it out at 1 gallon per hour. So if you're running at 10 hours a night, 10 hours for the night at, let's say fuel's been around 215-ish, 210, somewhere, let's just say it's going to cost you $21 for 10 hours. Let's go with that number. Well, $21, you're thinking, well, heck, Schmidt, that adds up. 21 bucks is 21 bucks. Well, now let's talk about how much it cost me to get it ungelled. You're looking at, just for the additives, because I put 911 in the tanks, and that are ungel it slowly, but it'll ungel it. And then I had to buy some more additive. I use Power Service. That's just what I use. I had to buy some more additive to put into my fuel filters when I put them back onto the motor. And then that way, you know, it's pushing up more not gelled diesel into it. I'm not going to throw the fuel filter cost in there because it was due for some fuel filters, but if I did throw that cost in there, you're over $100, because just for that treatment I bought, you're at $42, $43. And then if you'd add the fuel filters, and then this wannabe can of ether, oh my gosh, 20% ether, 20%. back in the day, you guys have been around for a while, you know that 20% is nothing. You used to be able just to, you know, 2 little squirts and she'd pop right off. A half a can to get her going on that thing. So it'd been cheaper. It'd been $21 to run it for 10 hours versus over $100 just to get it back up and running the next day. I could have started off with the ether. I didn't want to. I don't use it as much. I don't use it that much. And this weak stuff, it probably wouldn't hurt it whatsoever, but I avoid it as much as possible. So those are the things I did wrong. Now some of you might not be into trucks, and you're probably wondering, what in the world is he talking about gelling up diesel? Well, diesel reaches a certain point when it gets colder that it starts to turn to wax or gel. It gets really jelly, and it basically turns to wax. And I don't quote me on the numbers, but I think diesel actually starts to wax or starts to gel up at like 32 degrees Fahrenheit. I think it's somewhere around there. And we actually got down to 7 degrees. And I had Oklahoma fuel in, which is way warm with absolutely no treatment in it. So that's what happens. And when it starts to gel, it won't go through the motor. It won't go through your injectors. It most of the time won't even make it past your fuel filters. And once a fuel filter waxes up or gels up, you need to take it off and put a brand new one on, because even if you do get the truck running, she's not going to run right until you have a new one under there. Well, let's talk about what I did do right there. I didn't freak out. There was no reason to freak out. You know, I used to, man, I tell you what, man, I used to get all freaked out, all nervous every time the truck wouldn't start. Or if it gelled up, oh my gosh, I thought this is the end of the world. Now, we weren't froze solid. If we were froze solid, we would have had to dig out the tarps where you cover the engine, you cover both fuel tanks, and you put a heater underneath there, and you gotta let her cook for a couple hours. I knew we weren't gonna be froze solid, but I didn't know if it was gonna work or not. So either which way, we ended out really good. Because all in all, throughout the whole time we spent on it, from the time we went down, started the truck, went and bought what we needed, and come down, got it running. It was about 30 minutes. You know, then once the truck got running, I sat there and I let it just idle for about 10-15 minutes. Then I bumped the idle up to 800 RPM until the temperature gauge got up to 100 degrees. Once the temperature gauge got up to 100 degrees, I bumped her up to 1000 RPM, and that's where it sat for the next 2 hours until it was road ready. As for what are we doing without a trailer, guys, as you know already, my grandfather passed away, so I have a funeral to attend to this week. Plus, I promised little Bud I'd take him hunting this week. This is going to be his first time hunting this year, or first time hunting ever for the deer. And it is second season shotgun season for deer season right now. So for the first 3 days at least here, I'm going to take him hunting. Then there's a funeral. Then we'll get back on the road. And plus, First Class is not ready for the road right now. You can't see it, but First Class is broke. All that snow there, you just can't see it. But First Class has a crack in her fifth wheel plate there, or her adjuster there, or slider per se. So we need to fix that. So she's not road ready right now. And I don't really want to talk about it too much right now because I have not dug into the parts, where we're going to get the parts, what we're going to spend, where we're going to do it, stuff like that. So there's no reason to really even talk about it. As for right now, you guys keep yourself safe, stay healthy, and as always, I'll see you next time. You ready to go?
Yeah.
Should we start walking?
Yeah.
You got about a half-mile walk. Work for you? Might have to carry Dad though by the time we get there. Wish us luck, guys. We'll talk to you later on.